In today's video, we're going to go through the Endeavor Air hiring process. We're going to look at what to expect, and I'm also going to go through sample questions and answers that you can expect during your Endeavor Air interview. In terms of what to expect, I've reached out to people who've gone through the interview, who've either gotten hired or haven't gotten hired, and you're going to learn exactly how long it took for them to hear back, what to expect, some of the questions as well that they were asked, and obviously the response they heard in the end. Okay, and then I'm going to end this with some sample questions you can expect that I've gathered through communities, just researching and reaching out to some of the people who sat through the interview. Great. So what's covered in this video? Number one, a quick introduction on Endeavor Air. Number two, overview of the Endeavor Air's hiring process. Number three, testimonials from people who've applied, attended, either got hired or rejected by Endeavor Air. Number four, community posts from people on Reddit on the interview questions and the hiring event, etc. So Endeavor Air sometimes does hold hiring events, so you're going to hear exactly what to expect during the hiring event. And please note, I will provide links to community posts in the Endeavor Air hiring guide and the ultimate guide that you can download towards the end of this video. And finally, number five, general info and sample interview questions, which is amazing because, as I mentioned, you get to see exactly what kind of questions people were asked during the interview. These are actual Endeavor Air candidates who interviewed for flight attendant positions with the company, okay? Here's a quick introduction. Endeavor Air is a U.S. regional airline and a wholly owned subsidiary of Delta Airlines, operating under the Delta Connection brand. Headquartered at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, it serves destinations across the U.S., Canada, and the Caribbean, with major hubs in Atlanta, Detroit, Minneapolis, and New York, JFK, and LaGuardia. Founded in 1985 as an Express Airlines, it later became Pinnacle Airlines before rebranding as Endeavor Air in 2013 after being acquired by Delta. Endeavor connects smaller cities to Delta's main hubs using regional jets, providing passengers with Delta's service and loyalty benefits while maintaining its own strong focus on safety, reliability, and professionalism. Great, let me just hop in here and let you know that the reason I did a quick introduction is it's great to know about the airlines. You will be asked questions about what you know about Endeavor Air, so this quick introduction is great for you to write some notes for yourself before you interview, so you have a quick overview of Endeavor Air. Let's look over the hiring process for Endeavor Air. Number one, the online application submission. You apply online and wait for the first email touch point. One recent candidate timeline shows application was submitted on December the 2nd, 2024, and the next step email arriving about a week later. Okay, so they applied online and the application was submitted, and about a week later they received a response. And you're going to see later on during the candidates' testimonials that the average time is about 1 to 2 weeks. What to expect and what to do well here. Make your resume airline friendly. So customer facing work, safety mindset, reliability, teamwork, irregular hours. So when you're applying, what you want to do is make sure your resume is catered to what flight attendants do and what airline companies are looking for in a candidate. For example, they're going to be working with, a lot of passengers, so it must be customer facing. You have a safety mindset. You're always good with teams because as flight attendants, you're going to be working with teams or in a team setting. So that's very important, okay? Number two, the online assessment, often quickly after you apply. Multiple candidates report being invited immediately, which is about the same day, to complete a personality style assessment. After this, candidates often receive a talent card email that summarizes strengths that they look for. For example, achiever, responsibility, and resourceful. What's it like from candidates? Short. One candidate estimated 10 to 15 minutes and not challenging. But you should answer consistently and honestly with the safety/service mindset. Number three, virtual screening, short, live, one-on-one. So it's going to be a virtual interview with someone from Endeavor's team, one-on-one, okay? Candidates report an invite to pick up a short slot, example 15 minutes for screening. One detailed candidate experience says the one-on-one virtual meeting included one main question: why do you want to be a flight attendant for Endeavor? Plus basic requirement checks. For example, do you have tattoos? your height, training availability, and ability to attend the hiring event. Another recent post notes the screening can be conducted via a WebEx in a browser. What to prepare? A tight, specific why Endeavor. So why do you want to work for Endeavor? Okay, remember that's going to be the specific question asked during this virtual screening. So you can talk about like Delta Connection, regional lifestyle, basis, training, career pathway. Be ready for quick eligibility confirmations, okay? So here on what to prepare, remember the Delta Connection, the lifestyle of regional, know about the basis, the training, the career pathway that it offers to be when you join Endeavor Air. For example, getting into Endeavor Air may lead to actually going into working for Delta Airlines. So you can say, hey, I want to work for Endeavor because yes, it's going to allow me to get in. I love the bases, I love the training, I love the team, but it's also a great way for me to actually join Delta later on, okay? So you gotta make sure you cater your answers to what the hiring managers want to hear. Now, this is just a quick summary. You are going to learn a lot more later on in this video when I provide some samples, as well as I've provided a lot more samples in the hiring guide that you will be able to download, and I will provide a link for towards the end of this video. Number 4, invitation to an in-person hiring event or face-to-face interview, which is only an invite-only event. After passing the virtual step, candidates report receiving event details, and in at least one case, Endeavor booked flights for the candidate. Endeavor's own career site describes invitation-only hiring events in Minneapolis, MSP, at their hiring center. Typical timeline example: application, virtual screening, hiring event invite, event day. One candidate attended MSP event on January 8th, 2025 after a mid-December virtual screen. So MSP again is Minneapolis Hiring Center. So in this case, the candidate actually applied mid-December and was invited to the hiring event on January the 8th, 2025, okay? Number 5, group activity plus public-facing evaluation at the event. A candidate mentioned a group exercise, example, make 20 paper planes in 20 minutes with strict instructions. It's designed to see teamwork, communication, and following procedures, okay? So this is a group exercise. A candidate mentioned that as a team, you were asked to make 20 paper planes in 20 minutes. Remember, it's not really about making the paper planes, but it's more designed to see how well you work in a team and get it done within a team. Reading an announcement out loud, volume, clarity, and confidence. So when you're reading this announcement, remember, speak loud, with clarity, and speak with confidence. As a flight attendant, all of this is a requirement. Confident, clarity, and volume when you speak, okay? What they're watching for: calm leadership, including quieter teammates, staying organized, following instructions exactly. So they want to see how you lead, if you're pushy or not. They want to see who are the quiet teammates in the group. They want to see how well you stay organized during this event and during this exercise, and how well you follow instructions. Number 6, interview questions often star-based plus talent card discussion. A very recent community post about a face-to-face reports questions such as, why do you want to be a flight attendant? Why Endeavor? Based on your talent card, which one is more you? Remember I showed you the talent card earlier in this video about some of the skills they require. They are going to ask you to look at that talent card and tell them which one is more you. Then situational questions answered in star format. So in one of the Reddit community posts that I read, a flight attendant mentioned that the questions are going to be situational questions that you should be answering in star format. And a lot of the questions will be based about customer conflict. For example, how would you handle a customer who's being loud or not following instructions, as well as how would you work in a team? So situational based type of questions, which I will go over later in this video. Number 7, compliance requirement test same day, reach test and checking you can fit in the jump seat and related physical requirements. So they look for that as well, which is going to be done on the same day. And outcome offer next steps. Some candidates report very fast outcomes, same day or within a few days, depending on the event and hiring needs. So this is when you receive the offer. And if selected, the next steps phase is typically where airlines handle background, medical, drug testing, and onboarding paperwork. Timelines vary by class availability. Okay? So that is the hiring process. So let's look at an interview experience, number 1. So these are actual interview experiences from people. We're going to go over a quick 7 questions that they were asked, and then I'll provide you some of the stuff they had to say. Okay, so this is the first candidate here. So were you hired? No, they weren't hired. Did you attend an open house? Yes, so they did attend a hiring event. How long after your interview were you called? They were called about 1 week after. Do you have a college degree? Yes, they did have a bachelor's. What is your current job? So they were a delivery driver before applying to become a flight attendant. So they are female. And what is your age? They are 28 years old. So let's look at what they said about the actual interview process and the actual experience that they had, okay? I completed my job application and assessment about 10 days ago and received an email the next day inviting me to schedule a virtual screening. I booked my screening for the following week. The interview was held online and was very short because I wasn't eligible to apply due to not living within 2 hours of one of Endeavor's bases. I had assumed I can relocate if I was offered the position, but that wasn't the case. Grace, the interviewer, was very kind and friendly throughout the process, and I appreciated her professionalism. The tone of the interview was pleasant and conversational. I was only asked where I currently live, and the interview ended shortly after. There were no additional questions or actions required on my part. Overall, it was a positive experience, and I would definitely consider reapplying with Endeavor if I move closer to one of their bases in the future. Here's interview experience number 2. Were you hired? Yes. Did you attend an open house? No, so they didn't attend an actual open house hiring event. How long after your interview were you called? About 1 week. Do you have a college degree? No. What is your current job? They were a hairstylist. They are female and 35. Here's what they had to say about their actual experience with Endeavor Air. I applied last month and was emailed for a virtual interview scheduled 8 days later. They then invited me for a face-to-face interview. Endeavor flew me out 3 days ago at no cost to me. I just had to pay for my own room. My interview took place the next day, and I received a call 2 days later with a CGO offer, which is a conditional job offer. I applied online for the position and had to ensure I included 10 years worth of employment history. They sent me a link to complete a behavioral assessment. About 4 days later, I received an email to schedule my virtual interview. The virtual interview was very easy. The interviewer went over my resume and application to confirm everything was accurate. She then told me she wanted me to fly out for a face-to-face interview at their Minnesota location. I sent over my passport information, and there were about 35 people at the hiring event. The interview was very relaxed and friendly. Everyone was welcoming. As long as you dressed appropriately and acted like yourself, you had a good chance of getting the job. I was asked a few HR type questions. You will see all the questions that are asked during Endeavor Air's interview in this video. I will also answer a few. You can get the complete list of questions as well as how to answer them and the sample answers in the exclusive flight attendant guide, and I will show you how to download that at the end of this video. We also had to complete a group activity to show how well we worked with others, but we didn't have to stand up and speak in front of everyone else. Interview experience number 3. Were you hired? Yes. Did you attend an open house? Yes. How long after your interview were you called? About 1 week. Do you have a college degree? None. What is your current job? Behavior technician, female, and they're 23. Here's their experience. The application process was very smooth and easy to understand. I saw the company was hiring and I applied by filling out my personal information, experience, and answering a few questions. I also completed a talent card assessment. About 5 days after submitting my application, I received a call for a virtual screening. There are 2 steps after the company contacts you. The first step is the virtual screening, where you're asked questions related to your application. If successful, you move on to the in-person interview. The company books your flight to the interview location. I stayed overnight at a hotel so I can be ready for registration the next morning at 7:30 a.m. There were about 20 applicants. The day started with an overview of company information, followed by a group activity, and then the one-on-one interview. The tone of the interview was both friendly and professional. The interviewers made everyone feel comfortable and at ease. I was asked mostly customer service and safety related questions, many of them behavioral, and using the STAR method was recommended. One specific question I was asked was, have you ever dealt with a safety issue and how did you handle it? During the interview, we also participated in a group activity where we worked together in different roles, and at the end, each of us had to read an announcement. Now, just to let you know that all the situational based and behavioral type interview questions you will be asked during the Endeavor Air interview have been listed in my exclusive flight attendant hiring guide. Now, I will provide each question, how to answer that question, and even provide you a sample answer so you can really stand out compared to any other candidate applying for that flight attendant role. Interview experience number 4. Were you hired? So they're waiting to hear back. They did attend an open house. How long after your interview were you called? They waited about 2 weeks to hear back. They do have a master's college degree. Their current job while applying to become a flight attendant for Endeavor Air is a bartender. They are a female and they're 32 years old. Let's see what they have to say about their experience here. After I submitted my online application, I was contacted by the airline about 10 days later. The process was very easy and straightforward. They invited me for an in-person interview to check how I fit into a jump seat, read announcements, close overhead bins, and take a few photos. As I mentioned earlier, the first step was the in-person interview, which required me to travel to the interview location. There were around 50 other candidates waiting with me, and the entire process lasted about 5 hours. We introduced ourselves, had our height and weight checked, took photos, demonstrated fitting into a jump seat, and made short announcements. Later, I was contacted by email to schedule my online interview, which lasted about 40 minutes. The interview was conducted in a professional yet friendly manner. The interviewer was kind and easy to talk to, and I genuinely enjoyed the experience. The questions focused on handling problems with coworkers, unusual work situations, memorable life experiences, what I knew about the airline, and why I believed I'd be a good fit for the company. I didn't have to perform any tasks. It was purely a question and answer session while the interviewer took notes. Number 5. Were you hired? Yes. Did you attend an open house? No. How long after your interview were you called? About a few days. Do you have a college degree? Yes, they do have a bachelor's degree. Their current job is waitress. They are a female and they're 23 years old. I applied online and received an email inviting me to a face-to-face hiring event within a week. I should mention that I was referred by a pilot who worked for Endeavor Air at the time, which may have expedited my process. I was told that because of the referral, I was able to skip the initial phone interview, though it might take longer for applicants without one. The hiring event was held at a hotel near the Atlanta airport, and it served as my first interview with the company. Since I lived in Atlanta, it only took me about 45 minutes to drive there. Some candidates, however, had to travel several hours or even fly in for the event. There were around 50 to 75 people in attendance, but it wasn't as crowded as I expected. You could easily tell who came well prepared based on their attire and demeanor. The atmosphere was professional yet friendly, and the interviewers made everyone feel comfortable. After the hiring event, selected candidates were invited to complete a virtual interview a few days later. The event took place on the 13th, and my virtual interview was on the 15th. The questions focused entirely on behavioral, name a time when type scenarios, so it's important to answer using the STAR format. During the virtual interview, I wasn't required to perform any tasks. However, at the hiring event, we had to follow directions, fit into a jump seat, demonstrate reach requirements, and read a short announcement. No personal questions were asked during that portion of the process. Number 6, were you hired? No. Did you attend an open house? Yes, so they did attend an open house, which means an open hiring event that Endeavor Air does. Actually, a lot of airlines do that, where they have a live open event where it's doors open, you come in, you apply, and you get selected at that process to be interviewed, or the interview does take place that same day. Okay, so Endeavor Air did have that, and they did attend that. How long after your interview were you called? Which was immediately, so they probably did have the interview at the open house. Do you have a college degree? No. Their current job was a FedEx driver. They were a male and they were 24 years old. Let's hear what they have to say about their actual experience. I applied on the 1st of this month and was immediately sent a link to schedule a time for the recruitment event near LaGuardia Airport. The application required a full 10-year job history, and when I arrived, they asked everyone to make copies of their official documents if they didn't already have them prepared. The event took place at a hotel next to LaGuardia Airport. It's important to note that travel and lodging are not covered, so you'll need to plan for that yourself. When I arrived, there were about 30 other applicants. We were seated in a conference room and asked to fill out specific highlighted sections of a packet. One by one, we were called in for short interviews that focused mainly on application details. Afterward, we returned to the waiting area until being called in again for measurements and fingerprinting. The staff were very friendly and professional, which really helped ease the nerves. Even during my virtual interview, they came across as genuine and easy to talk to. I had prepared thoroughly, but they asked 2 questions I wasn't expecting. One of them was, describe a time you did something for a customer that wasn't part of your job duties, but you did anyway. I didn't have to read an announcement, but I did share information about myself and explain why I wanted to become a flight attendant. Before we continue, if you have a flight attendant interview coming up and wish you had the exact interview questions and answers, my exclusive flight attendant hiring guide gives you everything you need to walk into your interview with confidence so that you can move forward to the next round. Inside, you'll find interview questions and answers for major airlines like United, American, Delta, Envoy, SkyWest, and others. I connected with real candidates who went through these interviews so I can give you a clear blueprint on what to expect during assessments, virtual interviews, and face-to-face interviews. You'll also learn what recruiters score you on, the 3 questions they ask themselves to decide if you'll move forward, and what it takes to land a conditional job offer. To learn more and watch a quick preview of the guide, click the link in the description below and grab your copy today. Number 7. Were you hired waiting to hear back? They did attend an open house as well. How long after your interview were you called? It's about 2 days. Do you have a college degree, associates? What is your current job? They're not currently working. Female, and they're 49 years old. My application process went very smoothly. I applied last month and was invited to the recruitment event just 2 days later, which was scheduled to take place in Atlanta, Georgia, about 2 weeks after I applied. I received all the necessary emails ahead of time with detailed instructions on what to bring to the event. Before I left the recruitment event, I was scheduled for a video interview, which I later rescheduled for the end of the month. My interview was done online, so there was no need to travel, and I'm not sure how many applicants were interviewed for the flight attendant position. At the start, I was quite nervous, but the recruiters immediately noticed and reassured me. They introduced themselves, explained the interview process, and encouraged me to take a deep breath. We began with general questions before moving into scenario-based ones to assess how I would handle various situations. The recruiters maintained a friendly yet professional tone throughout the interview, which made me feel more comfortable. Some of the questions I was asked included, where can you commute or live in the assigned base? And describe a time you went above and beyond for a customer. What was the result? I didn't have to perform any physical tasks, read announcements, or stand up and speak. It was strictly a conversational interview focused on my experiences and responses. Let's look at a few more. Were you hired waiting to hear back? Did you attend an open house? Yes. 2 weeks after they were called back. They have an associate's degree, assistant new production, female and 22. Here's their experience with Endeavor Air's hiring process. I applied to Endeavor Air last month, and about 2 weeks later, my application was accepted. Another 2 weeks after that, I was invited to attend the flight attendant recruitment event in Atlanta. Before the interview, I was instructed to wear business formal attire and bring several forms of identification along with copies. This week, I attended the recruitment event at Endeavor's Atlanta location. Since I currently live in Mississippi, I decided to drive, which took about 5 hours and 45 minutes. Luckily, my mother came along for support. Because of the long trip, I made sure to arrive early, about 2 hours before the event started. The interview began at 2 p.m. and there were roughly 50 applicants present. It was a long process, but it was definitely worth it. During the interview, 2 flight attendants who served as recruiters guided us through the process and shared information about Endeavor Air's operations. The atmosphere was warm, welcoming, and professional. I was asked several HR-type questions, referred to the study guide on this website, and what I mean by that is refer to the questions that I will provide towards the end of this video. As well, don't forget to download the exclusive flight attending hiring guide, which has all the questions you will be asked during Endeavor Air's interview And with them, I'll provide a brief overview on how to answer them, as well as high converting sample answers so you can stand out compared to everyone else interviewing for Endeavor Air's flight attendant position. I also had to complete a few tasks, including reading a sample in-flight announcement, performing a reach test, completing fingerprinting for a background check, and doing a jump seat test. They also asked me to remove my watch and jacket to check for visible tattoos. Let's look at about 3 more. Number 9, were you hired? Yes. Did you attend an open house? Yes. How long after your interview were you called the next day? Do you have a college degree? None. They are a bartender. They are female and they're 33. Let's look at what they have to say. I attended one of Endeavor Air's flight attendant recruitment events and had my virtual interview the very next morning. After applying, I received an email within 2 weeks informing me about upcoming recruitment events and asking me to register for one that suited my schedule. At the recruitment event, they collected 2 forms of ID, COVID documents, and had us fill out some paperwork. We were asked a few basic questions, read a few sentences aloud, sat in the jump seat, and had our height and fingerprints taken. I traveled about an hour and a half from home to attend. There were roughly 20 applicants in total, and the staff were very welcoming and professional. Before leaving, they informed me that I'd have a virtual interview the next day, which lasted around 20 to 30 minutes. I received my hiring email just a few hours later. The recruiters were friendly and shared their own experiences about why they loved working for Endeavor. During the interview, I was asked scenario-based customer service questions such as name a time when or what would you do if, as passenger safety is always the top priority. During the recruitment event, I was taken to a separate room for my height and fingerprints and was asked to read a few sentences from a provided announcement script. Interview experience number 10, they're waiting to hear back. Did you attend an open house? Yes. How long after your interview were you called? Right away. Do you have a college degree? Yes, they have a bachelor's degree. They are a shift leader. Their current job is a shift leader. Female and 24. I attended a recruiting event and at the end, they scheduled me for a virtual interview. The process was very easy and straightforward. The interview focused mainly on behavioral questions, which I answered using the STAR method. It lasted about 45 minutes and was conducted online with a live interviewer. My best advice is to be yourself and answer each question honestly and confidently. The interview began with a brief pre-screening where they asked about my preferred base and second choice location, which took around 10 minutes. After that, they transitioned into the behavioral portion. Since it was an online interview, I didn't have to travel and there were no other candidates. It was just me and the interviewer. The overall tone was friendly and professional, and the interviewer made me feel very comfortable throughout the conversation. Most of the questions were customer service related. For example, I was asked to describe a time I helped a customer find a product they were looking for, which I answered using the STAR format. I wasn't asked any specific questions. During the earlier recruiting event, I had to read an in-flight announcement, complete a height and jump seat check, and ensure I met the physical requirements for the position. Number 11, were you hired? Yes. Did you attend an open house? No. How long after your interview were you called? About a month later. So this person waited a month to hear back from Endeavor Air. Do you have a college degree? Yes, they do have a bachelor's degree. Their current job is working for Amazon. They are a female and they're 26 years old. I applied to Endeavor Air about 2 months ago and received an email last month inviting me to attend their hiring event, which was held a week later at a hotel near LaGuardia Airport in New York City. Since I'm from NYC, I didn't have to travel far. I originally thought there would be interviews that day, but it turned out to be more of a screening process. We were asked to bring the required paperwork, fill out forms, complete the reach test, sit in the jump seat, read an announcement, get fingerprinted, and take a photo holding a small whiteboard with our name on it. At the end, they handed us a pamphlet to study and explained that if we advanced to the next step, the recruiters would ask questions based on that material. They mentioned it could take a few weeks to hear back, but I actually received an email just a few hours later inviting me to a face-to-face video interview. For the video interview, I was able to choose a convenient day and time. The interview was conducted by 2 friendly and professional recruiters who immediately made me feel at ease. They asked a series of behavioral and safety-related questions, included COVID-19 protocols. The interview lasted about 30 minutes and they let me know they'd be taking notes as I spoke. So if they weren't looking directly at the camera, I shouldn't worry. They told me I'd receive a decision within 2 to 4 days, but I received my CJO, which is a conditional job offer, email later that same day. The overall experience was great. The recruiters were warm, professional, and reassuring. My best advice is to practice as much as possible beforehand, especially with the behavioral and safety questions listed here. And what I mean by here is the questions that I'll show at the end of this video, as well as all the questions and answers you can find in my exclusive flight attendant hiring guide. Some of the questions I was asked included, what would you do to keep yourself and others safe during COVID-19? And tell me about a time you had a difficult situation at work. If you prepared, stay confident, it really shows. And if you're already watching this video getting ready, you're one step ahead of the competition. Keep going and you'll get that CJO, conditional job offer, okay? And number 12, were you hired? No. Did you attend an open house? Yes. How long after your interview were you called? 2 weeks. Do you have a college degree, a bachelor's degree? What is your current job? They are a barista. They are a male and they're 22 years old. Let's see what they have to say. I applied for the flight attendant position and received an invitation for a virtual interview about 2 weeks later. The interview went very smoothly. It was just me and 2 interviewers during the session. After passing the first interview, I was invited to attend a face-to-face hiring event. Unfortunately, due to personal circumstances at the time, I had to decline the invitation. A few months later, I noticed Endeavor was hiring for their NYC bases again. So I reached out via email to ask if they could reopen my application. Fortunately, I heard back within a couple of days and was able to resume the process. The face-to-face interview lasted under an hour and included about 6 other applicants. The overall tone of both interviews, virtual and in person, was warm, welcoming, and professional. The recruiters made me feel comfortable while still maintaining the high standards expected for the role. While I can't share the specific questions asked, most focused on customer service and situational scenarios designed to evaluate how you would handle interactions with passengers and coworkers with empathy, composure, and confidence. During the hiring event, all applicants were asked to complete several disclosure forms and contracts before being called in individually for height measurements, a drug test, and a jump seat assessment. Great, let's look at the hiring event. Now, I did mention that Endeavor Air does have a hiring event where candidates do attend and they are interviewed there. Let's look at user experience number 1. I'm not sure if anything has changed since I last attended a recruitment event in Atlanta back in 2022. But here's what I experienced and what I'd recommend. First, arrive early and bring 2 physical copies of your resume. This is extremely important. They were very strict about it and dismissed people who didn't have 2 printed copies. The event wasn't a traditional interview at first. It was more about checking that you met all the necessary requirements and qualifications. You'll start by completing some paperwork, then be called into 2 separate rooms. In the first room, they'll ask about your preferred bases and how you feel about commuting, and you'll be asked to select your top 3 base choices. In the second room, you'll remove your shoes from the sit. That's supposed to be seat. As I mentioned, these are actual testimonials, so I did not correct any of the spelling or anything. So you'll remove your shoes from the seat, stand, and reach test. After that, you'll be asked to read from a short announcement card so they can assess your speaking voice, clarity, and any additional languages you speak. Make sure to smile and sound confident. They'll also do a visible tattoo check on your hands, wrist, and neck. After that, you'll either be dismissed to wait for an email response or directed to a table to schedule your final virtual interview. The final interview, which is typically done over Zoom that same week, will require you to present your passport, ID, and social security card, and you'll have your fingerprints taken for the background check. If you're selected to schedule your final interview, that's usually a very good sign. It often means you're close to being hired. Now, just to touch on the drug test, here's what the candidate had to say. They do not drug test on site, but will send you to go test at a facility afterwards. My advice: wear a black pantsuit or a black skirt suit or a black dress with a blazer if you'd like. And be and stay professional, be confident, clear, and happy. Agreeable towards any base, no matter your preference. Here's user experience number 2. This is for anyone looking into Endeavor Air and wanting some insight on the hiring process. Again, this is from a Reddit user, all right? Number 1, About 20 to 25 people attended the event. There were about 8 people hosting the event, including 2 flight attendants. They begin with the presentation, highlighting job requirements, pay details, benefits, etc. They then called 4 people to go with 1 instruction to do a group activity in a private room. Number 2, the activity was make 20 paper planes in 20 minutes with clear instructions. Each person had to do a part of the plane. They basically want to see that you can work well in a team and help someone if they are struggling and work together, can read instructions well, etc. They then asked each person to read 1 to 2 sentences of an announcement. Make sure you read loud and clear. Some people in my group spoke mumbled and quietly. They were also not reading well any of the instructions. Then the instructor asked each of us to say how we contributed to the team. Number 3, afterwards they brought everyone back to the main room and called people one by one for a face-to-face interview. For my interview, they asked, how do I work under pressure? If I ever had to deal with a difficult customer, how do I deal with a coworker who is not doing their job? What steps do I take to make sure I get to places on time? What do I expect the flight attendant position to be like? That's all I can remember. It was about 5 to 8 questions. Then they asked, if hired, am I available to attend this training date? There are no other dates offered, so I don't expect to be able to get another training date. Number 4, when I finished my interview, I went back to the main room and some people were still waiting or had also been done. So while we waited, the 2 flight attendants were with us and asked people one by one to stand up and introduce themselves and talk about their hobbies, past jobs, experience, etc. It was lighthearted. They also said don't be nervous as they are just flight attendants, but they were writing down some notes, so always be professional no matter what. So just to clarify this, I guess what the candidate here is saying is that once they were done their interview, they headed back. There were some people waiting for the face-to-face interview, as well as there were some people who completed the interview and they were just still waiting. And the flight attendants that were in the room, there were 2 of them in the room from Endeavor Air. They just asked them to introduce themselves and explain a little bit about their hobbies and past jobs, etc. Number 5, afterward, they called everyone one by one again to do fingerprinting, height, jump seat test. Then I finished and they called a free lift for me to the airport and I went home. January 10th, 2025, just got a call today confirming my conditional job offer and an email with my training start date and all other information. Overall comments. Make sure you read every aspect of the emails. It has all the information you need. Okay, so that's a great tip. So many people did not follow instructions. They either arrived at the wrong entrance, left their luggage at the hotel, were on their phones, had AirPods in, and did not follow clothing instructions. Someone came with jeans, sweatshirts, and sneakers during the group activity. Some were also not following instructions. The interviewers were extremely kind and helpful. I was worried as some people said Delta employees were cult-like, but at Endeavor, they were extremely generous. It was a great vibe and energy. Also, one more thing I would like to add. Everyone felt the fun and exciting energy, but please remain professional. During part 5 especially, some people were talking too loud, making jokes, and being too comfortable in general, as if it was just a friendly hangout. We were being watched at all times and they were taking notes. Even during one part, the flight attendants were constantly telling people to keep the volume down like 10 times, but they wouldn't listen and kept talking loud. Some people were also dead silent and shy. Make sure you are somewhat in the middle. Talk, be friendly, but make sure you are observant to your actions and things you say. One guy even said that he aspires to be a pilot, not a flight attendant. And some people were talking about negative experiences in their past jobs. That's all, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Now, see, these testimonials are very, very important because you kind of understood exactly what to expect during the hiring event and some great tips, for example. Like, for example, don't be too loud, don't be too silent, don't talk about being a pilot if you want to be a flight attendant. Also following instructions, what to wear. So these are some great tips and I want you to really follow them if you are applying to Endeavor Air and you get invited, because these tips here are going to get you to stand out compared to other candidates who have applied for the job, okay? Great, let's look at some general info and questions. So now, what I've decided to do is collect some actual general Reddit posts from communities and forums on just the Endeavor Air hiring process, what to expect and what people went through during the actual hiring process. Okay, so these are from people who attended. Number one, they served snacks and drinks about an hour into the event. The interview included basic STAR questions. It began with an hour-long presentation covering details like pay, scheduling, and how reserve works. After that, everyone participated in a teamwork exercise before moving on to the one-on-one interviews. Finally, candidates were sent to the requirements room where they measured height and reach, checked for visible tattoos or piercings, and had us strap into a jump seat. User experience number two. I went to my face-to-face on November and got my conditional job offer today. First, dress the part and remember your talent card. Just start by collecting your documents and fingerprints. Then comes a presentation about the company, pay, and more. After the break, you'll be split into groups for a 15 to 30-minute project to see how well you work with others. Afterward, you'll be called for your face-to-face where the interviewer will ask, this is continued, why do you want to be a flight attendant? Why Endeavor? Based on your talent card, which one is more you? Followed by situational questions answered in the STAR method. The last thing to end the day would be your requirement test, which is basically a reach test and seeing if you fit in the jump seat. User experience number three. Congrats. Endeavor is a lovely place to work, staffed by fantastic people. You will do just fine. They will be understanding of a candidate with little/no aviation experience and just want to get to know you better. Follow the appearance guide, be early, smile, and take your time answering questions. There's a good chance you'll see your fellow interviewees in training, so make some friends if you can. Best of luck. Please note, links to guides, Reddit posts, sample questions, and answers will be provided in the hiring guide. Great. Now, let's look at some sample questions that you will be asked during Endeavor Air's interview. These are questions that I collected online through forums. These are questions that I collected through Reddit communities by reaching out to candidates and really doing some research online. So I did all the work for you so you know exactly what questions you will be asked so you can prepare for ahead of time. I will also provide you some answers to a few of these questions, and then you will find the answers to the rest of these sample questions within the hiring guide, okay? So here are some of the sample questions. Number one, what do you do if a company does something you don't like? Number three, do you have any flight attendant experience with Delta Airlines or Endeavor? Number four, are you able to commute to or live in your assigned base? Number seven, what is the flight attendant's main concern? Number 13, how will your previous work experience help you in this position? Number 16, have you flown on a plane? Number 18, tell me about a time you were late or had to be absent from work. What did you do? Here are some more. Number 25, explain what customer service means to you. Number 33, do you meet the reach requirement? Number 34, do you meet the height requirement? Number 35, are you willing to relocate? As well as you can see there's some more up there. Number 21, why do you want to become a flight attendant? And number 26, describe a time you had to implement a safety protocol at work, okay? Great, let's go over some of the sample questions you will be asked during the Endeavor Air's interview. Now what I will do is I will actually provide the question here. I will provide you how to answer the question, and then I will provide a sample answer to this question as well. So number one, why do you want to work for Endeavor Air? Show that you've researched the airline and understand its culture and purpose. Highlight training standards, connection to Delta, regional airline career opportunities, and operational reliability. Make your answer personal but informed. Airlines want to see genuine interest, not generic, I like to travel. I want to work for Endeavor Air because I'm drawn to a company that values professionalism, strong safety culture, and high-quality service. I appreciate that Endeavor operates as a wholly owned subsidiary of Delta Airlines, which means the training, expectations, and operational standards are extremely high. I want to be part of an airline that takes pride in developing confident, well-trained flight attendants who can grow long-term within the industry. I'm also impressed by Endeavor's reputation for reliability and its commitment to safety and teamwork, qualities that matter deeply to me. What excites me most is the chance to represent a company that prioritizes a positive passenger experience while supporting crew members with strong resources, mentorship, and a clear pathway for growth. I'm motivated by the idea of joining a team where I can contribute my work ethic, service mindset, and calm approach while learning from a respected operation. Endeavor feels like the right environment to build a career I'm genuinely excited about. Number two, why would you be a good fit for our company? This is your opportunity to sell yourself. Show you understand the company's culture, values, and expectations. Highlight your personality, work ethic, and customer service mindset.
Your answer should sound genuine, confident, and aligned with the airline's mission. I believe I'd be a strong fit for your company because I bring the combination of professionalism, warmth, and reliability that passengers expect from your crews. I'm someone who stays calm in unpredictable situations, communicates clearly, and genuinely enjoys helping people feel safe and cared for. I also take policies and procedures seriously because I know they exist to protect both passengers and crew, and I've always been consistent with following safety standards in every job I've had. What draws me to your airline specifically is the emphasis on customer experience, teamwork, and a strong service culture, values that I connect with on a personal level. I'm the type of person who notices small details, supports my coworkers without being asked, and takes pride in representing a brand professionally. I know the role requires flexibility, resilience, and a positive attitude, and those are qualities I bring naturally. I'm excited about the opportunity to grow, contribute, and uphold the high standards your company is known for.
Number 3, describe a time you had a conflict with a coworker. How did you resolve it?
Pick a situation with a clear misunderstanding, not drama. Show maturity, patience, and willingness to listen. Avoid blaming the other person. Instead, focus on communication and teamwork. End with a positive outcome. I once worked with a coworker who felt I wasn't sharing enough of the workload during a very busy period, even though our tasks were divided evenly. Instead of letting the tension build, I asked if we could talk privately so I could understand his concerns. During our conversation, I realized he preferred more collaboration during peak rushes, while I was trying to divide tasks to keep things efficient. We agreed to adjust the flow by checking in with each other more often and pairing up during the busiest moments. As soon as we made that change, our shifts became much smoother and the tension disappeared. Over time, we actually developed a strong working relationship because we learned how to balance each other's strengths. That situation taught me that conflict isn't always about disagreement. It's often about unclear expectations. When addressed respectfully, it can lead to better teamwork and a more positive environment.
Number 4, what is the flight attendant's main concern?
When answering this question, always lead with safety. Airlines want to see that you understand the core responsibility of a flight attendant goes far beyond customer service. Show that you can balance safety, service, teamwork, and situational awareness under pressure. Keep your answer clear, confident, and rooted in the reality of the job. The flight attendant's main concern is always the safety and well-being of every passenger and crew member on board. While great service creates a positive experience, safety is the foundation of everything we do, from enforcing regulations to responding calmly during unexpected situations. In past jobs, I've worked in environments where I had to be alert, follow procedures precisely, and make quick decisions while keeping others calm. I'm comfortable taking leadership when needed, communicating clearly, and staying focused even when things become stressful. I also understand that passengers often judge their sense of safety based on how confident and composed the crew appears. That's why staying trained, prepared, and steady under pressure is so important. I love the service side of the role, but I'm equally drawn to the responsibility of protecting people and making sure they feel reassured throughout the flight. To me, the ideal flight attendant brings warmth, professionalism, and strong safety habits to every single flight.
Great, so those are just 4 of the questions that you can expect during Endeavor Air's flight attendant interview. Now, as you did notice, I did provide you a quick overview on how to answer each one, as well as then provided a high converting answer. Now, in the hiring guide, I will provide an answer to every single question in exactly that format. How to answer it, as well as provide a sample answer that you can use during your flight attendant interview with Endeavor Air. Now, I hope that you did enjoy this video. Just want to let you know that I have posted a link below this video to the exclusive hiring guide, which not only includes the interview questions asked during Endeavor Air's flight attendant interview, but also covers all the questions that will be asked by major airlines for those looking to become a flight attendant. So in that guide, I've listed all the major airlines like United, Delta, American Airlines, SkyWest, Envoy, Hawaiian Airlines. There are about maybe 10 to 15 airlines. And in that guide, you will find all the interview questions that you will be asked during the interview, how to answer each one, as well as a sample answer that you can use during your interview. Now, I did go out and research every single community out there, just like I did in this video, to find the types of questions you will be asked by all the major airlines, and I did list them in the guide. Now you can find a link to that exclusive flight attendant hiring guide below this video in the description, okay? Now at this time, I just want to wish you all the best on your flight attendant journey. I also want to tell you to keep your head up, keep smiling, and good luck.